tutorials. In this video, I will discuss about state versus props. So in class component, as you know, there is concept of state. So if there is a constructor function in your component, this function will be called when the component gets initiated. As soon as the component is loaded, then first function that it runs is constructor. The constructor function is where you initiate the component's properties. That means if you want to put your initial state, in that case you have to use constructor. In a React component, properties should be kept in an object called state. As I told you that if you want to put your properties, that means if you want to declare initial variables, you can do that in an object called state. Another important concept of components is how they communicate. React has a special object called prop, which stands for property, which we use to transfer the data from one component to another. This is about data. So how React stores the data and how this data is transported from one component to another. So this is the concept which is related to state versus props. So let's see with practical example, then you will understand what is state and what is prop. I'll write here cd. In this folder we are going to create npx create react app, then state versus props. Okay, so this will be our project name. Let's press enter to start the project. Okay, it's installed now. Now we will go into that folder. So finally we are inside this folder. Now npm start. In the meantime, let's open our project from here. So open folder, then my D drive here. Inside this Reactjs class, this folder, ready to go. Here Reactjs class. Inside this state versus props. Now let's go inside this, then app.js. What we will do, we will delete this, not this one actually, and create first class component. So we will write here class app extends, it's 3 times here. Class app extends react dot component. Then inside here constructor. Okay, in this constructor, and then we need to call here super constructor. That means the constructor of this class. Apart from that, we need to import here, or else we will get error. Import react. Actually this will be not here. Import react from react, right? From react. So now the error should go now. Okay, and then now we will initialize the state, because if you want to declare any properties or variable, initial variable, in that case you can write inside a constructor. Okay, because as you know, when the object of the class is created or initialized, then first function which is called is constructor. Okay, so here you can initialize the state. So we will write here this dot state. This is a special object which holds the value, and here we can write color then red. This is color and red. Now inside this function, so we are talking about here state versus props. So what is state? The value of state, remember this point, the value of state is accessible within the class. That means this value of state can be accessible only in class F, not outside of it. That means if you have two components, then the value of this state, for example, we will create here class second, okay, extends react dot component, okay. So here as well, we will write here render, and then inside render, not this one, render, and then inside this return. So return will return some function here, so h1, and then h1 close. Now here inside render, actually there will be curly braces, not this one, okay. So class component render is a function itself here, okay. h1 this is okay. Now if I want to show, but before that let's do one thing. Let's write the same thing here also in this function, in this class actually, okay. So the value of this state, that means color red, I want to display here, so I can do that. How? Like this dot state dot color. Then if you run this application, you will see that the color here, I will write color red, okay. Let's refresh this application. So it is showing here color red. How? Remember, the state is initialized, that means the initial value of state is initialized inside the constructor, okay. And now the value can be accessed in view section, render section, like this dot state dot color, okay. But and one more thing, the property, the feature of state is that, one very important is that the state value is accessible within the class. It cannot be accessed in the another class. That is very important. The value of state is accessible only inside the class where it is declared. It cannot be accessed here directly. For example, if I write here this dot state dot color, if I try to access this and say this second, actually let it make capital second, and this class I am trying to call here like this, okay. But before that we need to a wrapper also, like div and this div, okay. I'm calling here, and I am trying to pass this value. This color is property of app class, right? I am trying to access this color property in this class. That means this is outside of the class where color is declared. Now is it possible to display? Now let's check here, and you can see nothing shows. That means there is some error. If you Control Shift I, then you can see it is saying the property is null of color. That means the value of property is not accessible outside of the class. So this is the core point, main point, that the value of state is available only the class in which it is declared. So this is the main thing. Okay, you should remember it. So this is point number one. The value of a state is accessible only inside the class where it's declared. Right? Now let's move another thing. If I want to access this value into second class, what I can do? Yes, that is possible through props. So what is props? Props, that means properties. Through properties or through props, we can pass the value of uh, this state from one component to another. For example, if I write here, uh, say color equals to, then I will write here the first thing which you need to do is here you need to write here props. Okay, and also here if you want to use props, that means properties, you have to pass here this value inside the constructor, in super constructor, this one also, and main constructor. Now I can access here this value through this dot state dot color. Here we will pass to second, okay, to this one, and now I'll write here color of second is like this. Let's check. In this time, rather than state, we need to write here props. Now try to access this, and here you can see the value in second component is accessible from first component. So what you learned? You learned that the value of properties directly is accessible within the class, not outside of the class. But the value of any state can be accessed from other component, that means child component, through props. For that, what you have to do, you need to call here, pass here this parameter props, and then through props you have to pass this value. So how it is working, let me show you. Here the color is red, right? That means this color red is assigning this state. Now if I access this directly, then I can see the color. But if I want to use here in this child class, in that case what we will have to, we need to pass this value through state here to second class, or color prop, whatever name you want to give, color prop, okay, say prop, okay. In same name we need to access here like this color prop. That means the value first is coming here, and then it is assigned here and in this variable, and now from here this is accessible. Okay, so what you learn, through props it is possible to transform or transport the data from one component to another component. But remember the value can be passed only unidirectional. That means from base component, parent component to child component. It is not possible to pass the data from child component to a parent component or a sibling component. That means if there is more classes, then from one class to another class it is not possible to pass the data. Later you will learn that is possible through context API and through Redux, which we will cover later. But normally the data is passes in Reactjs unidirectional. That means from parent component to child component, and data can be passed from one component to another through props, and without props the data is accessible within the class. So hope you understand the concept of state and props. The second point about the state versus props is that the value of state, remember the value of state is mutable. That means initial state value can be changed. the state value is mutable. Mutable means it can be changed. That means the value of state can be changed. The value of props is immutable. That means the value of props cannot be changed. So now we will uh, discuss about how to change the state value. So let's see with example. Let's change this code here a bit. uh, we will declare here state like this. You remember, multiple value can be initialized here in state. Earlier we had declared only one value. For example, in this case there was only one value, but if requirement be, you can pass value like this. So what we have, we have brand, then model, color, year, like this. Okay, now we will create a function on it. We will declare a function called change color. We want to change the color of this pulsar. Okay, so for that there is a function. This is ES6 arrow function. So this is important. If you want to change the state value, that means initial color is red. Now I want to change the color to blue. That means it is mutable. That means the value of state can be changed. So here there is a function set state. Okay, this set state function helps us to change the value of state. Now we will call this set state function here in render or return portion. Here below we will call this function. So there is button, then on click this dot change color, this dot change color. That means when we will click, this function will be called. And how this will work, the initial color is red. Okay, when we click on the button, then the value will change through set state, and now this color will be set here. So what you understood, it is mutable. State is mutable. That means the value of state can be changed. Okay, so when we run, we are getting change color is not defined. So what's error? Let's check here. This class, this class is okay, this class is closing here. And what is for this one, constructor? Okay, it will be outside the constructor, not inside. This function will be outside of constructor. So now let's try. Yes, let's refresh it. Color is red, second color. So is it running or not? App, then app. So the state color is red. Oh, button, put here button. So on click change color, this function will be called. Now you can see there is button. Okay, so initial color is red. Okay, when we change the color, you can see the color is changed to blue. That means what, this is possible to change the state through change state. So initial color was red, but when we click the button, and this function was called, this one, and when we call the function through this set state function, the value of state got changed. So that is the idea. So hope you understand that how the props work and how the state works. And remember, this example is with class component. Then we will see same with functional component. So far you have learned how to pass the value of state through props from one component to another. But what if there is functional component? Because after 16.8, this version of Reactjs, now functional component is more popular as compared to class component. So how we will pass the value from functional component to in functional component how we will use the props. So let's change the code and see the example. Now let's change the code here. We will write here function app. Okay, then from here let's remove everything. This render will be deleted, and then let's change this div. Only return will be there, and this whole thing will be removed. Okay, only we will keep this, and here also we will write function second, and here inside function once again the render will be deleted. Here only return will be here, and now we will declare here one value. Say let's write here const message welcome to uh, functional world. Okay, now we will call this function inside here, so it will be like this. In here we will write value, then this we will pass this message right here. What is happening here? This is pass this message, and then same message we will pass here. Here we can write props. Okay, now inside this we will access this value. So prop this dot props dot value. Actually this will be not applied here, only it will be props dot value. So this way we are passing the value from one component to another. So this is our original message. First we are passing here, and then from here we are accessing the value here. So the output is this. Guys, you can understand why functional component is important. I'm just doing this, and you can see how long the code is to show the same thing. And you can see in functional component same thing we can do in just few lines of code. That is why this functional component has become so popular. Same thing you can do through arrow function. So how that will be? Like this, you can see. So this one and this one is both are same. Okay, so sometimes you will see this kind of function, then you don't be get confused. This is also a function, and this is called ES6 arrow function. Okay, the name function is not there, and below here also you can call same. So this is another version of function, but both are functional components. The only difference is writing here. Okay, these are called arrow function. Remember, we don't have any state here, that is why we cannot make any changes here. Okay, these kind of functions are called stateless functions, stateless components. But React brought hooks. React brought hooks through which it is possible to make changes, and inside the function we can use state. But this is beyond the discussion of this tutorial. In further video I will explain in detail how to use effect and also use state. So for the time being, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.